Welcome along to episode 722 of the Milk Bar. Jason Forrest here with you as ever. And coming up on the show this week, Lewis Cornay lets us know about his role in SpongeBob SquarePants at the Grand in June. We'll be hearing from Linda Robson as we talk about a card for those who are using medical cannabis to carry, so people know quite what they're up to. William Hanson is along to let us know the etiquette of the Coronation and how we make the most of the celebrations. We'll be hearing from Ziggy Alberts with his brand new album on the way and a gig coming up in Birmingham too. And we talk DIY with Dom Wood. That's all on the show this week.
Welcome to the Milk Bar. 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 Welcome to the Milk Bar.
It seems that there are many people out there who do not own screwdrivers and hammers. Somebody who has a full toolkit and knows how to use it is Dom Wood, who joins me now. Hello, sir.
It's lovely to speak to you, Jason. How are you doing?
Oh, good here. I hope we're finding you well and you haven't had any mishaps in the world of DIY.
If I do, then I don't put them on social media because I like to pretend that everything's perfect. No,
Yes.
That's a lie. I am very happy to hold my hands up and say I'm not an expert and that I am learning and I do get things wrong. And I think that's really, really important.
I think that's part of the appeal. I mean, your videos have got several million views each online. The House of Wood is where we can find the magic that is you doing DIY. And how do you approach a DIY task? Because obviously there's a lot to it to prepare to make sure you don't make those silly mistakes.
Well, there is. I mean, the thing is, though, when you make mistakes, that's when you learn. So it's kind of going to be inevitable that things are going to go wrong. And then you look at them and you look up ways to trying to get around those kind of fatal mistakes. But it's been a very rewarding journey, and it's been very strange for a lot of first-time homeowners who are looking at this channel because they're the people that grew up watching me on Dick and Dom in the Bungalow. Mm-hmm. Now they're watching me renovate my house, so it's very good. But it's a very positive experience because everyone's in there just kind of giving each other support, and they'll have questions, and I'll ask tradies questions, and they'll give answers, and other people get answers. It's been very, very interesting, the whole thing.
And when it comes to those jobs around the house, so people hate having to do things like clearing a block drain, fixing a tap, putting up fences. Those are the least favourite jobs. I have to admit, I have had to change the little washery widgety thing in the ceramic what's-it, and you spend most of your time trying to order the bit you want off Amazon and getting it wrong 3 times. But yeah. It can be done. That's the thing. You can have the confidence.
There's nothing better. If you need a bit of advice or a bit of help about the right size washer or anything like that, the best thing you can do is get yourself down to a DIY merchants, whether it be one of the big ones or an independent one, and just ask some questions. Say, I've got one of these. I need one of these. Can you recommend? And they'll help you out. There's this thing which is kind of trade anxiety where you go to a DIY store and because you don't feel like you belong there because you're a DIYer and it's got trades in there, you feel like you can't ask a question just in case you look silly. It's like being in the playground again. But the reality is a lot of those guys, nearly all of them, are really happy to answer questions and to help out.
Yeah, and obviously you're offering some amazing guides and fun showing your DIY antics online. Yeah. There's some intriguing ones out there, and there's toothpaste involved in so many online life hacks, and yet there's actually one for real in one of your tips you've got for us.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you don't have to have all the fancy gadgets around the house in order to be able to do the jobs. Look, when I'm hanging pictures, I use, it's my favorite tool in the world. It's a laser level. So basically it projects a laser all the way around the perimeter of your house, but it wobbles and then it sets and it goes right. So I can put the pictures up at the right level. If you haven't got anything like that, okay, you can just get a blob of toothpaste, and the hook on the back of the picture mount on the back of the frame. If you put a little blob of toothpaste there and then put the frame exactly where you want it on the wall, it transfers the toothpaste from the picture hook to the wall. That's exactly where you drill or nail, and it'll sit exactly right.
And it's minty fresh as well.
It's minty fresh.
That's why we like it. When it comes down to the DIY jobs, though, we also need to get rid of our waste. And one of the easiest ways is doing that through a hippo waste bag, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. Again, it's to take away the fear mongering. And I think sometimes, people get scared by industrial scale stuff. So when a big skip arrives outside their house one morning, it could put the fear into some people. Whereas the great thing about these hippo bags is that they fold. I've literally used them for years, even before I joined up with these guys to talk about all this. I've used them for years. And they fold up nice and small. And you can keep them in your garage or the cupboard under the stairs or your shed, whatever it is. And when you're ready, you just take it out, unfold it, and stick it on your drive or outside your house. And that's when you can pile all your stuff in. And again, when you're ready, you just kind of contact them. They'll come pick it up, take it away. And it's a lot more cost effective than a skip as well.
Yeah, and they sort out all the bits and pieces so we can reuse anything we can reuse too.
Yeah, it's sort of like 95% of the materials get recycled from the skip. So it doesn't just go into landfill. It's really good.
Yeah, so this means when you rip up a floor, you know it might actually become another floor somewhere else, even if it's a mosaic tile in future.
Exactly, or hamster bedding or anything. Who knows what will happen to that flooring?
It's the hamster bedding I've been worried about, to be fair. So that's a good one. Any other tips for us that we can share now, aside from going to your website and checking out the details?
Yes. Do your research. That is my top tip. Do your research. Get the right tools you need for the job before you start the job. Keep all the receipts in case you need to take stuff back. And my final golden rule before you start doing the job, and this was given to me by my father-in-law, who was a great renovator and DIY. I loved him to bits, which is measure twice, cut once.
I have made that mistake. I was putting the flooring down in our garden room last year, and the skirting boards, fortunately, the two side pieces were interchangeable in the end because I cut one the wrong way around. But got away with it.
Exactly. You made the bevel cut the wrong way, didn't you?
Yeah.
I did that yesterday. I was making some collars for the bottom of the pillars outside on the porch from the front of my house, just so they look kind of nice and substantial at the bottom. And my final bit, so I boxed it all the way around. I did the front, the side, and I had a bevel that went all around the top, and I put the bevel the wrong way, sloping inwards. I was like, oh, no! And oak isn't cheap. So ooh. I'm giving you this bit of advice, but I still don't take it myself. Measure twice, cut once.
Yes, that's the best way of doing it, and make sure the angle's the right way up, and you don't do anything crazy with the jigsaw. But
I'm glad I'm not alone.
Absolutely not. Well, so some great tips out there. So where do we go first of all for full details on your TikTok and the fun you're having there?
I've given a load of exclusive tips to the guys at hippowaste.co.uk. But for my Instagram and TikTok handles are at the and then _ House of Wood. Because my name's
that's it. But it's a Hippo doing great things, helping to tidy up, and particularly, it's a great way of hiding the mistakes. You put it at the bottom of the bag, and none of your family notice that you cut that bit of oak the wrong way.
No one has to know.
That's the way it works. Don Wood, thank you for joining us. Have a great time. Enjoy the work, and don't do any damage. This June, Bikini Bottom is going to need saving. On 5 evening shows at 7 o'clock and 2 matinees, SpongeBob SquarePants may be able to help out with that. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Lewis Cornay. Hello, sir.
Hello. Hiya. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too. And as we talk, we're on Zoom. And at the minute, you've moved a little forward towards the camera, so we can't see the impressive nature of your hair.
Are you ready? This is the reveal.
Yeah, there is the hair. So it is quite impressive. And is this something that you have brought together for the role, or is it something that you carry around with you at all times?
I don't carry this around with me. No, this is something very much for the role. And when people come watch the show, it's sprayed yellow and it's all massive and it's very cool. It's sort of punk rock style. but no, I don't really have a fringe. I'm very boring.
Oh, yeah, but this is a big show, though, isn't it? It is running from the 27th of June through to the 1st of July. And it is the ethos, the fun, the manicness of SpongeBob SquarePants, the cartoon, but with real people, because you're not that actually square, and you're then transported into the wonderful world of Bikini Bottom. But as I mentioned, things are under threat because there's something of a large plastic volcano.
There sure is. Yeah, it's really, it's sort of, how would I best describe it? It's got all the silliness and all the joy that you'd want in SpongeBob SquarePants. But actually, you've got that classic sort of hero story. You've got all the musical theatre numbers that people might want. So you don't necessarily need to know SpongeBob SquarePants at all. I mean, I didn't before doing the role. I wasn't aware, but I loved the score. So it's like a proper Broadway musical.
And you've had a great time singing along. Because I've seen some of the clips that have been coming out from the company themselves. And once you get these songs, you do not want to stop singing them. I mean, I can't sing, but I still want to join in. But I won't.
I don't sleep at night. I go to bed at night, literally singing the songs over and over again. But yeah, they really get in your head. They're such good songs.
And music from David Bowie, Cyndi Lauper, a load of stars all contributed to this show, which has existed for a little while now, but this is its first real outing across the UK.
Yeah, this is the first time it's been in the UK. you can Google the pictures from Broadway. It was amazing. And yeah, we're putting sort of our own spin on it and our own humor, I think, for British audiences.
So SpongeBob, obviously an important character, loved by millions. You must be proud of landing this gig.
Very proud of landing this gig. When it came about, I was like, I was like, it would feel wrong. It would feel wrong for me not to be doing this. It feels that my life has led up to playing SpongeBob. I always feel like a cartoon character. He looks like me. He's got the gap in the teeth. He's got the high-pitched voice. It's perfect.
And how do your friends and family feel about this? Because
disowned me, I'm afraid.
Really, because you've really started living this, haven't you?
Yeah, I just walk around and just go, "Hey, everybody, how you all doing?" And it just great. It couldn't be. I mean, a lot of my friends, I'm sort of an age group of people that grew up watching SpongeBob, so they were so excited. My family were confused. But that's the thing with the show. There's a lot more. When they came and watched the show, they were like, "Oh, this is a proper huge thing, and there's so much to it." And that's what I think. A lot of audience members have come and watched it and gone, "Oh, I didn't expect it to be like that. I didn't expect it to be this sort of big brash musical."
But it's set under the sea. We are in Bikini Bottom because we know that SpongeBob SquarePants lives in a pineapple under the sea. And this is some fun plays on words. So there's something there for everybody, whether you're an adult or child. The 7 o'clock is a child-friendly start as well. So it's a bit like panto. But this itself is a storytelling. This isn't a pantomime, is it? This is a proper full-on musical for all the family.
I would think of it. It's got some of those bits, those recognizable bits from panto, but I feel like it's an elevated panto. We've got some of those we've got the jokes and stuff, but yeah, it's the story that's been really sort of like the show was it took years to craft the show. Like it's gone through such an evolution. So yeah, you've got those jokes, but it's just a bit more well-rounded, I'd say.
Yeah, because I mean, when you've got a hot property like SpongeBob, you absolutely have to get it right, and I think they've absolutely got this right.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Yeah,
but you've been a great time with audiences already. It's in end of June. We are at the Grand, but you've also got some interesting friends down there as well. Because obviously SpongeBob mates with Patrick the Starfish. Tell us a bit about the rest of the cast and who we can expect to see. Because there's alongside yourself some other big names.
Yeah, so we've got obviously Davina De Campo playing Plankton, who is absolutely incredible in the role. So funny. And that is giving sort of that evil villain vibe. We've got an incredible ensemble. Patrick is played by the wonderful Earthan Damani. We've got Sandy Cheeks, who is, of course, the squirrel that's living under the sea, because that's normal. By Chrissy Beamer. We've got Squidward, who is played by the incredible, delicious, scrumptious Tom Reed-Wilson. It's a real eclectic bunch of actors, I'd say, and it works perfectly for the show because everybody is so different in what they bring. We've got people doing acrobatics across the stage. We've got people doing opera. We've got people doing rap. It's a really exciting company.
Yeah, and I have to say, the sea bit under the sea is actually part of your imagination because we're not flooding the theatre, are we?
We're not. It depends.
You're tempted.
The budget wouldn't allow, sadly. Yeah. No.
The diving gear for the whole audience would have been a tad awkward, and your popcorn would have floated away.
Yeah.
So there's things you need to take into account when you're doing this. But it is an amazingly fun show. Right? We've mentioned the fact you love the songs. I'm going to put you on the spot. Favorite song? Go on.
Well, I'd have to say my own song. I'd have to say there's a song called Just a Simple Sponge that I sing. It's written by Panic at the Disco. And it's Fabe and Eloise, our choreographer, did this incredible thing where basically, I don't want to give too much away, but how can I say it without giving too much away? I basically dance with sponges.
Yeah.
But in a way that's you'll see some of the pictures. It's very beautifully done. The whole stage goes dark and you just see floating sponges around me. And that's my favorite. I feel like a rock star.
You absolutely are. You are certainly a massive star on this show, and we're loving the fact that the hair is there and it's yellow for the show. Plus, you get a great outfit to be SpongeBob in. It is Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre. It is the 27th of June through to the 1st of July. 01902 429212 is the box office number. grandtheatre.co.uk to get your tickets. And note, it is a 7 p.m. show in the evening with two p.m. matinees on the Wednesday and the Saturday. And it's been well worth getting along. Badger your school to take you on the Wednesday afternoon. Badger your parents and the family. In fact, your parents will want to go and see it as well. So make sure you all go along and enjoy SpongeBob SquarePants at the Grand. Lewis, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being SpongeBob. And just say goodbye to me in his voice, please.
Thank you for having me. Goodbye.
With a new album and a forthcoming set of gigs across the UK, Ziggy Alberts is rather busy and joins us now to tell us more about his world.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we're spotting a slight accent there. Explain a bit more about that before we begin with.
So, basically grew up on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Try and make a concerted effort when I am, Queensland, Australia. Try to make a concerted effort whenever I am speaking, particularly overseas, to not be quite as, what's the word I'm looking for? I try and make an effort to not speak as I do in Australia, which is with poor English. And so
everybody lives in
I
Australia.
try so people can understand me, hopefully, a little better.
Zoe has the same problem. She has to bring her Midlands down accent a bit when she's outside the area. But you're going to have a good time, though, because you'll be hearing all sorts of accents he has across the UK. In June, I think it's the 10th of June, you're at the O2 Institute in Birmingham. So a Midlands gig for you in the UK. And how often do you get over here? Is this a mainstay for you and your music?
As far as internationally, I'd say yes, it's definitely a big one. This particular UK run, alongside the show, at the O2 in Birmingham, I'm going to be doing some of my biggest overseas shows to date. I mean, I think, Manchester's 2,000 or 2,500 people, and London is going to be 5,000 people. And then I've got, I think, I actually was just pulling these up now. I've got I think about 10 gigs there. And when I spoke earlier with somebody else, I'm shocked and pleased to say, I'm playing in Brighton and it's sold out, and Falmouth is sold out, and Bristol and Exeter sold out, and all the other shows are just doing fantastic. So I'm going to be doing my first Midlands show, in Birmingham. So that's going to be really good. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. My brother went to America a few years ago, and everybody thought he was from Australia. So whether the West Midlands accent sounds a bit like Australian, I'm not quite sure.
I'm going to guess no, but we'll see how that works out. At least we can tell what he's saying, which is what counts. So, so Nicky, tell us a bit about your background musically then.
It's funny, believe it or not, actually, one of my biggest influences is one of the UK's very own Ben Howard, who had such a mega, it'd be amazing for him to know he has such a big impact on surf acoustic music around the world. So many people. I certainly felt like he changed my whole perspective of what folk music could be. So I guess that was an early influence for me. And then as you go on, you find, I guess, your own twist on music, or folk music in this case, and being a singer-songwriter. I guess folk music in busking circles is a big deal in Australia. I'm trying to think. In Australia, I guess we also have this really, I guess the whole punk rock surf music, that's a big, very, I guess, big part of, let's say, what you might go out and see all the time. But folk music for me, and it's been crazy 10 years since I last had another job. That's where I quit to just pursue busking. 10 years, still on my gap year, 10 years later. Pursued music full time at that point onwards. It wasn't a big career plan. Obviously, at first it wasn't at all, but 10 years on, where amidst another world tour. I started a record label in 2018 to stay independent called Common Folk. So we got a record label and a publishing house. And yeah, I've been coming over to the UK actually to play shows for 8 years now, which is crazy to think. My first shows ever were these tiny little gigs in 2015, which was, where I was but playing tiny shows in Australia as well, but took the leap to come across here. And I'm very pleased to say it's been, this will be my fourth return tour to Europe and the UK. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to being back, particularly after this last 4 year stint. This last 4 years away has been a long time, so I'm glad to be back.
Are you surprised at how it's grown, if you see what I mean? If you look back on the last 10 years, does it surprise you where you were started to where you are now? Because the tour that you're doing seems like huge, if you see what I mean. And could you ever imagine have been doing something like this when you first started out?
Because it could have been a career in dentistry, couldn't it?
Yeah. So it's a little different. It's a little different. Like what did someone say before that I was on the phone with was you could have been pulling teeth, but now you're pulling crowds, and I hope that the latter is more pleasant to those involved. Yeah, look, I never would have. I've just been, I would say, really just stoked, as we say in Australia, to come back after 4 years and to be playing to almost double the people at every show. That's kind of incredible, particularly for the time away. The UK is actually one of the few places that, through, I think, major, through great regional support of a lot of, independent publishing kind of medias, like what you guys are doing through all the different radios. I've actually had mega regional support, and it's a real case to show for how strong regional support through a place like the UK, like the sort of impact it's had on the shows is incredible. Opposed to, and that's not to say that it wouldn't be incredible to get plays on places like BBC and stuff like that, but there's something to be said for community-based or more independent, listening platforms that have had, by example of this tour, such a big impact over the last couple of years. So I'm just amped to come and finally play live shows for the people.
Yeah, I think it's every surfer's dream, isn't it, to like tour the world and play music at the same time? So yeah, it's got to be your dream job, I would imagine.
It's certainly, they do those two things, my time in the ocean and music. They're very part and parcel of who I am, on and off camera, on and off stage. So that's something that it's always a smart ticket if you can use your music as an excuse to go and surf places. That's always seems to be a fruitful experience,
Yeah.
But also, I also don't mind. I don't mind city slicking from time to time. As far as like doing the shows is immensely important, and you get to see really cool parts of the city too. So yeah, it's can't complain.
Yeah, as we say, we have got a few really good surfing beaches.
Not in Wolverhampton we have, until Birmingham.
No,
It's a bit, but you've got to go over to Wales.
Particularly good. If you've been to those sorts of beaches.
I'm lucky to have been. I've surfed a bit down in down the Cornish coast. But Wales and Scotland and Ireland and England actually have the locals keep it so well done. The water's cold enough as well, but there's actually really good waves. Like Wales has some incredible waves. You just have to have a thick wetsuit. So I've not done as much exploring. I actually don't mind cold water surfing. At one point I was spending a bit of time living in Norway, and I remember doing a surf trip into the Arctic Circle in like February or January, and that was just freezing up in the northern part of Norway. And there is something really special because there's just so few people, often there's so few people when you go do those, cold water surf trips. Like, so yeah, I know some colleagues, some English colleagues who, who you wouldn't guess are English now, you'd guess they're Irish, who started a CSA farm down in County Clare in Ireland. They're from England, and they just exported to Ireland because the waves are so good, and they pioneered all the surf spots down there. So yeah, you guys have, believe it or not, there's actually incredible waves as long as you've got a thick enough suit.
Oh, yeah. You'll be heading out and about as you do that, as you're in that tour at the right time of year. It's going to be as warm as it can be. However, we've got an album being released in May ahead of the tour itself, 6-track. And you're also, though, including some live studio versions of the song. So now, this is what you're about. If you can play it, it comes across well because it's live.
Well, yeah, it was really cool. So basically, it was maybe September or October last year. I had this opportunity to come up to go to record in one of the rooms at Abbey Road, and so I came across the ditch, flew across specifically for that, and I did this 6-track EP called A Postcard from London, which is just so epic to be releasing ahead of all the shows. You know, it's like I think it's a nice special touch for the UK audience to get something that's geographically, you know, specific and recent as well, like something that just was recorded a couple months ago. So I'm really pleased that's all come together, because that was a bit of a pipe dream. So for that to all be released around the same time as the tour, I think it's just going to be a nice touch, you know.
The album on the 19th of May, the tour hits Birmingham on the 10th of June at the Institute. Well worth getting yourself down to the O2 Institute for this one. Buy now whilst tickets last. Obviously, everything is selling out. This is the time to do it. Ziggy, where do we find you on the socials and online? And of course, pick up that album before we get to the gig.
So the album, as you said, that's, you know, early May, that will be out. We are working on some physicals. They will be available along with tickets on ziggyalberts.com, ZiggyAlberts.com. And people can find me usually on socials via Ziggy, ZiggyAlberts. That's my Instagram handle, and yeah, that's where we'll be keeping track and trying to document as much as the tour as we can. And looking forward, like I said, to my first show in Birmingham. Should be great.
It'd be great to see you in the Midlands, not too far for us to head over and enjoy. And the music is absolutely going to drag people off their seats into the front row and to be screaming, wailing, dancing, and probably singing along a little bit too after they've learnt the tune. So great speaking to you. Thank you for joining us. We're going to take a listen to one of your songs. Now, I think we're going to go, just to keep it in the sort of sea-sun mood, The Sun and the Sea, one of your live studio tracks. And we shall be imagining you on the crest of a wave somewhere as you listen to it.
Perfect. I think that's fitting.
We wanna be famous, but we don't really mind what for, and we wanna feel different, as long as nobody's keeping score. And we wanna get high on another supply, living so conveniently, and we only wanna protest when it's on trend, and everyone else here agrees. We're still figuring out what we came to remember, feeling like an outlaw, living in a post-truth era. We're still figuring out what we came to remember, citizens in an uproar, living through myopic eras. The sun and the sea always work it out. The sun and the sea always work it out. We wanna be honest, ignore the elephant in the room, and we wanna have culture, but cancel it if it ain't my views. And don't wanna get high on another supply, stop living so conveniently, and don't wanna go protest, not cause it's on trend, standing up for what I believe. We're still figuring out what we came to remember. Been feeling like an outlaw, living in a post-truth era. We're still figuring out what we came to remember, citizens in an uproar, living through my big eras. The sun and the sea always work it out. The sun and the sea always work it out. The sun and the sea always work it out. The sun and the sea always work it out. We're still figuring out what we came to remember, feeling like an outlaw, Living in a post-truth era, we're still figuring out what we came to remember. Citizens in log rock, living through myopic eras. The sun and the sea. We wanna be.
There's a coronation on the way, and it's a time to have some enjoyable fun. But what does it mean when it comes to the etiquette surrounding such an occasion? Somebody who knows the etiquette of every occasion is William Hanson, who joins me now. Hello, sir.
Hello, Jason. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us. And this must be a delight for you. It's a happy occasion, born at the back of a sad one last year, but a chance for us to come together once more as a nation and enjoy a coronation, even though it's slightly different to the one that happened 70 years ago.
Yes, life is so different from 1953, of course. And you're absolutely right. The coronations or royal events, we've generally the happier royal events like jubilees that we've had or weddings are really good occasions for communities to come together and to celebrate. Even if you are not the biggest of royalists, I'm sure you will at least be invited to something with your street, your family, your community, or use the bank holiday and the long weekend to come together as a community, which can only be a good thing.
Absolutely. And it is an extra day off, even if you only see it as that. But it is something that is, again, going to be part of British history. And the reaction to it and the commemorative plates, mugs, and various other things that we'll all no doubt indulge in are all part of making it special. And the commemorative mug is something that goes back pretty much more than a century now, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And there's all sorts of sort of royal knickknacks and paraphernalia that are coming out. Even if it's the coronation program that came out officially from Buckingham Palace a couple of days ago. So I'm a big fan of tea towels, of royal tea towels. I have a tea towel for every royal occasion going back for quite some time. So yeah, we love all that.
So, tea towels aside, obviously we are making sure that we're having fun at events and things. And do you think there might be a few formal dinners for this as well? You know, people will have a bit of a sit down and have something with a bit of pomp, circumstance. Maybe a roast peacock.
Yeah, well, who knows? Yes, you could roast whatever. But yeah, I think you'll see a range of dining options over the long weekend in amongst families, friends, and office places. You'll see barbecues, you'll see street parties, you will see candlelight suppers and things like that. I think you'll have it all. But as long as you're eating nicely, then it doesn't matter what type of event you're having. And sadly, there is a little bit of research out that proves that people may not be eating as nicely as maybe they were doing in 1953.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the cutlery thing. I mean, I'm often inundated with cutlery and never know which bits to use. If I go to a Christmas party, I may not be having the fish course, but I know at least which knife that is. But the rest of it gets confusing. What should we be doing when it comes to this sort of thing?
Yeah, okay. Well, with cutlery, if someone has set the table correctly, and that is the big caveat, generally we start on the outside and we work inwards. So even if you don't know what does what, and well done, you know that the fish knife is the one that sort of looks like a fish's tail, you start on the outside and work inwards. Often in pairs. The only one that doesn't have a pair would be the soup spoon. It's very hard to eat soup with a fork, so you just need a spoon to scoop away from you. But I like the fact that you are inundated with cutlery. That's lovely, because this research from Costa Coffee has shown that less than half of us hold the cutlery correctly, and a lot of people, over 75% of people, don't quite know how to put the cutlery when you're finished eating.
Oh no, yeah, because is it 12 o'clock or is that really a faux pas?
Well, yeah, it's sort of at 6:30, but I'll accept 12. I'd mark that correct in an exam because that's opposite 6. But you put your cutlery together. If you imagine the plate is a clock and the knife and fork is the hands of the clock, you would put them together at 6:30.
But I mean, I will do that when I'm having dinner at home, most likely because I've finished before everybody else, and it just says, "Yeah, I'm done." But it is almost as if you do feel you've done with your meal when the cutlery is in the right place, and leave them all askew makes it difficult to pick up and put the plate next to the sink for somebody else to worry about later.
Exactly. Yes, it's easy if whether it's your partner, your friend, your flatmate, or a waiter in a restaurant to come in. If your cutlery is at the 6:30 position, they just come in, put their thumb on top of the cutlery to stop it from moving, and whip the plate away. Easy peasy. They also know, particularly in the hospitality industry, they know if you put your cutlery together that you are finished. They don't need to interrupt your conversation to go, "Have you finished?" because they can just take it away.
It is an unwritten rule, I suppose. Well, probably is written in a book that you've got out, but it's a rule.
It's written in quite a few books that are behind me for those watching this on social media. It's in all of these books.
So it is there, but in your own head, keep that one in mind, and it will work quite well. But I like the idea of the fact we're going to be. We sat down in Costa Coffee having a drink, and it's the pinky finger which comes up, and there's about 64% of people doing that when they are sitting down and having their cuppa.
Yes. Now, what do you do, Jason?
I have to admit, I don't stick my finger out very often because I normally, if I'm at Costa, I'm having a large white hot chocolate, and that is in a bucket with handles, and you need to hold both of them to be able to get it to your lips. It is such a generous portion. But if you're having one of the smaller drinks, you could easily do that.
Yeah, a lot of people do. There's research, 64% say that they do it, as you say. It's not actually correct. I think the sort of certain films have perpetuated this myth that it's terribly sophisticated to extend your little finger. It actually has its roots in the French court of Louis XIV and XV, and it was a way to silently communicate to other people that you perhaps were going to get to know a little better of an evening, shall we say. It was to communicate that you had a sexually transmitted disease. It is not what people think, but what happened is you had the staff of those houses thinking, oh gosh, all the posh people are going around sticking their fingers out. It must be terribly sophisticated to do that. And actually, etiquette back then was exclusive rather than today where it's more inclusive. And so the staff didn't know this. And so you had this myth that extending your finger was correct. But it isn't.
I'm glad I'm not doing that, and I'm
glad you answered that question correctly, because it would have been very awkward now if you had said you did extend it.
I'm not going to ask what you do when you have a drink, because I've just seen you drinking, and I know your finger wasn't in the air, so we're all good.
It's not in the air. No.
That helps. Okay, but what else is that we should be looking forward to with the coronation? That is certainly a no-no, maybe even at a barbecue, which is one of the more relaxed eating environments.
Yes, absolutely. And, there's still etiquette at barbecues. The one thing that sort of winds me up, whether it's a barbecue or you're going round to your friend for a kitchen supper or something, or even a formal thing, is the lack of napery. I like a napkin, even if it's, I obviously would love a cotton or linen napkin, but paper will do. A piece of kitchen roll is better. But barbecues are messy. You are probably using your fingers if it's a hot dog or if it's a burger or a chicken wing. And so you especially need napkin or a piece of kitchen roll, because otherwise you've got to go around and you've got to wipe your hands on their sofa, and people don't like that. But if they get greasy marks on the sofa because they haven't provided napkins, they do only have themselves to blame.
And there's no excuse for not having a wonderful set of Union Jack printed napkins or Union Flag printed napkins. He says about to be corrected probably. So that can be a bit of fun over the coronation weekend too.
Yes, do you know, this is a bit of a serious point now, but actually we are almost the only nation that would allow our state symbol of a flag to be on. We stick it on bedspreads, we stick it on cushions, we stick it on footstools and stick our feet on it, we stick it on napkins. If you did that in America, they go absolutely ballistic because they're so protective over their flag. If you do it in China, you can go to prison if you don't respect the flag. Whereas in Britain, we have the liberty that actually we might love our country, but we can stick our flag on a napkin and sort of use it to blow our nose and wipe our fingers, and it's not really a crime. So we should respect that.
And enjoy it, but have the napkin. Maybe just a red, white, and blue one. Mind you, if you put those together, they look a bit French anyway, and we certainly don't want to be doing that during a coronation.
No, they've got quite strong feelings on us, and we've got quite strong feelings on them.
So, how are you celebrating the coronation? What have you got planned?
Well, I shall be in amongst it, soaking up the atmosphere, because I'm very fortunate. I live in London, so it's quite easy for me to get to the palace. So I'm going to sort of go and soak it up, because although we will have another coronation, hopefully in our lifetimes, it will be nice to be there. It's the first time we've had one for 71 years, so I think it's nice to be there to soak up the atmosphere and see what's going on.
Yeah, statistically, even if Charles is as long-lived as his mom, William will hopefully be on the throne before I disappear, based on the longevity of myself. But fingers crossed for that one. But obviously, an awful lot going on. Costa have got more tips for us online, I take it?
Yes, I'm sure. And you can always go down to your nearest Costa Coffee and enjoy the Coronation chicken toasty, but nicely, please, no crumbs.
Okay, and make sure you use that napkin.
Please.
We can find you on the socials as well?
Yes, I'm at William Hanson Etiquette on Instagram.
And plenty of things going on there, including podcasts and all sorts, which I very much enjoy. William Hanson, thank you for the advice. I shall make sure my fingers are in the right place, my cutlery is correct, and my napkin is doing its business. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jason.
A first-of-its-kind card is out there to help those who are medical cannabis users. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Dr. Stephen D'Souza, Clinical Director at Relief, and also Linda Robson, TV personality and medical cannabis advocate. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon.
So first of all, Linda, tell us a bit about your interest in this and why you know the importance of this card.
Because a couple of years ago, I did this program called Gone to Pot, and I travelled around America, where it's legal in most of the states over there, with Pam St. Clements, Christopher Biggins, John Fashional, and Bobby George. My interest started before this trip because I befriended someone on social media called Darren Blackwell, and he had 2 forms of cancer. He had leukemia and then another really rare form of cancer. And I just befriended him, and I used to go to Bristol and visit him in the hospital all the time. And then he was given 1 in 8 billion chance of survival. And then his mum rang me and said, I don't think he's got very long. Would you like to come and say goodbye to him? So I travelled to Bristol to say goodbye to him, went to visit him in the hospital and said our goodbyes, went home. A couple of weeks later, his mum rang me and said, you won't believe this, but he's finished all his chemo and everything, but we're going to try him with cannabis now. So that's what they did. And then we actually spoke to him on the program called Gone to Pot, and he's in remission now, and he's still taking the cannabis. And the last time I spoke to him, he was working for Heston Blumenthal in a restaurant. And touch wood, all these years later, he's still doing really, really well. But on the program, we also went to visit this little girl, and she was probably about 8 years old, and she was having up to 1,000 seizures a day. And once they started her on the cannabis oil, they reduced by 90%. So I saw firsthand amazing that medicinal cannabis can be.
Yeah, and Stephen, obviously this is something which is life-changing for people, yet there is still concern from 1 in 4 about using medical cannabis outside the home without, because someone may think they're doing something illegal.
Yes, and in fact, the same study showed that about a third were concerned that they would be stopped by the police and could be arrested if they were found to have cannabis on them. And part of what Relief is trying to do is ensure that there is adequate education out there such that people understand that medicinal cannabis is legal. And I think from that study, about 58% didn't realise that it was legal. And secondly, that it has very good properties in certain circumstances. The fear that people have is that if they get prescribed cannabis, they'll be labelled as a druggie, but also that if they take their cannabis outside home, they will get arrested, they will have the cannabis seized, and they could end up in court. The government has made very strict, or the Home Office has put in very strict guidelines as to who can have the cannabis, and also what is required to be checked if they have cannabis on them, if it's checked by the police. So the card that we've got is a I don't know if you can see that, is a driving license style card. It contains a photo of the individual, their name, their address, and contact details. It also has a QR code on it, which gives access to patient data, a telephone number, which can be called 24/7 by only the police. So if there's any concerns about the information they get, they can call that and clarify that. And the Relief website, which is relief.co.uk.
So this is really trying to set their mind at rest, giving them that card that does show exactly what they are taking this for. And it may not be in the same form as you'd expect to see cannabis if somebody was using it illegally either. They're not going to be wandering around with a weird little plastic bag full of literally weed, are they?
Not necessarily. You can vaporize cannabis. So medicinal cannabis can be vaporized. It can't be smoked. If you smoke it, that's illegal. But as you rightly say, it can come in other forms. So it can come in tablet form, or it can come in oils, which are put sublingually. And both of those are alternative ways. So you're right. It's just if someone is stopped and they are found to have cannabis on them, then you can see that it is a medical cannabis. And the information that's contained in the QR code gives them on-the-spot verification that that patient has a valid prescription for the type of product that they have in their possession. And you say different formats, it can be in the different formats that it can come in. And that will all be detailed on the card.
And Linda, did you see a similar scheme in the US when you were over there filming?
Yeah, you could go into one of the surgeries and they'd ask you questions. We did a Zoom call with a doctor when we first arrived there to tell him any problems we had. Mine was menopause. I've also got a little bit of arthritis, I think. And I wasn't sleeping, obviously, because I had jet lag when I just arrived there. And they prescribed some cannabis. And that definitely helped. And it has helped ever since as well with my joint pain, with my insomnia. And just with my anxiety as well. I think during lockdown in particular, lots of people were suffering from depression and being lonely and everything. And that was a really, really hard time for everyone. And with the marijuana, that just seemed to calm me down, and it definitely helped with my joint pain.
And absolutely, I mean, able to do this legally without the concern and without the worry of having to buy this illegally for somebody who, needs to have that medication. It is great that we have that in place in the UK. Now, obviously, there are strict guidelines around it. But Stephen, again, this is something which you're guaranteed the quality of as well, because if you're buying things on the street to try and self-medicate, you've also got those concerns. So it's certainly the right way to do it. And this card just puts everybody's mind at ease.
Yes, that's right. That is the big differential between learning that people are using street cannabis for health reasons.
When you don't know actually what's in it, do you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where do we go for more information on the card so people can familiarise themselves with it? So if somebody does be seen to be using that and say, this is my card, so we all understand what somebody's doing, but also to find out more about the opportunities to use medical cannabis when you're discussing it with your doctor.
So the Relief Dispensary's website is simply relief, spelled RELEAF, .co.uk.
So check out all the details there and you can find out about the card too. For now, Dr. Stephen D'Souza, Clinical Director at Relief, and Linda Robson, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
That's your lot for this week. Thank you so much for joining me back with episode 723 next week. I'll see you then. Ta-ra for now.
Goodbye from the milk bar. 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 Yeah. Goodbye from the milk bar. Yeah.